Hello, welcome to another video. In this video, we'll be talking about limit of detection, how to calculate limit of detection using pre-standard deviation approach. Okay, before we get started, please help me subscribe to my channel. I really thanks for your support. All right, so just a recap of limit of detection using this approach pre-standard deviation. So if you look back the formula over here is the LD is basically the C blank, which is the concentration of the blank, plus 3 times the standard deviation of your blank, right? So just a recap of that. Number 3 is come from one tail T value, and that actually dictates how many runs you need to make and what's probability you are looking at, right? So C blank is the average concentration, and as standard deviation blank is the standard deviation of your blank, right? So, but all of this will only work if you have a real blank to run. You know, your blank is a real blank, and you do have some kind of minor peaks coming up from your blank. Otherwise, your C blank will be 0. So this approach will not work. Okay. So I have another very detailed video about this approach. I will link that in the description. So go and check it out. Okay, so in today's video, we'll be talking about the same approach, but the second case where C blank is really 0 or you don't really have a valid blank to run, right? So let's get into that one, okay? Okay, so again, the formula is basically the same. It's C blank plus 3 times of standard deviation of the blank, and number 3 is basically the t value of one tail t value, and that's will be how many runs and probability. Okay, I can do a quick one for you to show you why I put 8 runs and 99% over here. So if you do a quick Google if you put in t value table from your Google search, then you come up with this table over here. So number 3 is basically is come from this table. So if you look back this one, you have this value is 2.98. It's very close to number 3. So if you want to really strict to that number 3, you can get this number from here. So that's equivalent to 99% over here, and then that means 7 degree of freedom. So that basically means 8 runs. So otherwise, if you don't want to use something from Google like this, you can also generate that same thing in Excel using this spreadsheet, something like this. So that will give you more flexibility where you can have multiple a lot more like probabilities or number of runs that you want to make. So before you complete this table, you need to know the formula that the Excel is using is something like this. It's the absolute number of the t.inv, which is on the formula to perform this t value calculation, and you have 2 parameters inside. One is the probability, and remember that's it probability to be wrong. So that means if you have 95% over here, so over here basically it should be 1 minus the probability. So that should be 0.005, right? 0.05, sorry. And I'm going to do the same for all of this. Okay, then you have degree of freedom, which is number of runs minus 1 over here. So that will be number of runs minus 1, right? So let me drag it down. Okay, and then the formula over here is very simple. That is ABS, which is absolute, and t.inv. Then you have the probabilities right here, and then you have the degree of freedoms right here. Then close the bracket. Okay, one more thing we need to do. I want to drag the formula on the way to the right side, and that's when I don't want to change my degree of freedom because they, okay, so that's when I need to lock this column C over here. Okay, and then again, the same thing, I want to drag the formula down here, and so I don't want to change the probability on top here. So that should be row number 3. I don't want it to change. I'm going to lock it this. Okay, so that will be something like this. Then I will be able to write everything down like this. So I have the whole table like this, a lot of numbers. So what I could do over here is I could put them into the conditional formatting, and because the number I'm looking at is something is number 3, but most of the time you don't want to look for that exact number. So you want to give yourself some kind of like up and down a little bit. So I would go from 2.9 all the way to 3.1. That should be close enough to number 3. Okay, there you go. So you have a couple of cases that you can run to get this number 3. So either 3 runs with 95% confidence level, or you want to have 4 runs with 97% or something like this over here. So in this video, I'm going to use this 99% and 8 runs, right? Okay, so how do we perform the calculation for this one? But let's get back to this PowerPoint slide for a while. Okay, So that's where the one just now I show you was how many runs that we need. So we're going to use 8 runs and 95% probability in this video. Okay, so in this case, you don't really have a real plank to run, or when you run a plank, you get nothing out of it. So basically, you get nothing. So you can't really perform this calculation using this formula anymore, right? So, but because C plank is 0, so that means your LOD is basically 3 times of the standard deviation of the plank, right? So the problem here is how do we estimate this guy over here, HD of the plank? Okay, so if you we can do kind of like an estimation over here. It should not be a real SD blank, but it should be very close. If you have a standard that is like 10 times or less of the expected detection limit. Why we need to do this? Because the higher the concentration, usually your standard deviation will be higher, right? So that means you want to have something like the standard deviation close to the blank level. You want to run something like a standard, but the concentration shouldn't be too high. I mean, most of the time, I mean, people kind of like assume that the concentration of standard should be 10 times or less of the expected LOD. When you do that, the standard deviation from the standard should be very close to standard deviation of plank. So that is a good way for you to estimate SD plank over here. So if you replace everything back in the formula, you get LOD is equal to 3 times of the standard deviation of your standard, right? So that would be another case that I'm going to demonstrate how to use Excel and Openlab Chemstation intelligent reporting to perform the calculation for you in this video, right? So let's get into Excel for that. Okay, so here's a simple table that you have. So because I'm going to have 8 runs, so here I list out these are my compounds over here. So what you need to do is you go to your Openlab Chemstation. Okay, then you prepare 8 runs over here. These are 8 runs I'm going to use. Okay, you need to like print the report of every single run. So let's say this is the first run. I'm going to print the report like this. And what you're going to do is you copy this amount column over here, and then you just dump those number into this column over here. And again, the same thing over here of this. So let's assume that I have these are the number that you have. I'm going to use over here. Then let's say I have of this number like this, right? And then let's say I have the average of would be something like this. Okay, and then break it down. And then standard deviation is STDAV, run 1 to run 8. Okay, there you go. Then LOD in this case is just 3 times of the standard deviation of the standard. So that would be like this, 0.007. Then I like to have another column over here is the average divided by the LOD. So that will tell you how many times your standard is compared to the detection limit, right? So that could be average divided by the LOD over here. You get something like this. So if you're getting like less than 10 over here, you're okay with that one. But if you're getting a lot more, you better like dilute your standard a little bit lower to get better estimation of your standard deviation, right? So this is a very quick way for you to perform calculation, but you see that you need to enter this number over here manually one by one, and provide if you have like many more compounds over here, that will be a lot of time consuming, very time consuming to perform this task, right? Right, so I'm going to show you another way using Openlab Chemstation and intelligent reporting, which is very quick for you to generate the same calculation over here without entering of this number over here. All right, so let's get into that. Okay, again, these are the 8 runs I'm going to use. This data may be a little bit different from this data, so okay, but the idea is the same, right? So over here, if you see the concentration of my standard, the one that I'm running right here is about something like this. So I'm expecting something like my LOD is about 1 ppm, right? So I should run my standard is about 10 ppm or less, right? But that will be very easier for you to run. Yeah, let's say your GC is running like something like a liquid sample where you use you prepare your sample liquid and use a syringe or something to inject your sample. And what you need to do, you just need to dilute your sample to bring down the concentration to 10 times or lower than your detection limit, right? That's really very easy. But if you have if you are running like gas or LPG sample, most of the time it's very difficult for you to perform this dilution, right? It's very hard. You need to have some dedicated equipment to perform that, and you get a lot more errors from there as well. So if your analysis is something about gas or LPG, I would recommend you use the signal to noise approach to perform this calculation. So I will link the video of that I've done before in the description as well. So do check it out if you are running in that situation. So that will be easier for you to perform the calculation. Okay, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use calculation over here. Even my data is this one I was acquired from the LPG standard, so that's why I can't lower this concentration anymore. So I just accept this concentration to perform the calculation here. Okay, all right. So what you need to do over here is of course, you need to go through every chromogram and you make sure that you're happy with the identification and then the interaction of every single compound. Okay, we'll go through everything. And once you're happy with all of them, you can just highlight everything like this, hold the shift button and select from the first one to the eighth one like this. Then right click, send selection to report layout. Why I need to do this? Because that will give me the more or less like instant preview of my when I develop my template to perform this calculation. It will give me one blink of your eyes to see the result immediately, right? So let's make a new template for that. New report template over here. Then this will be a single sequence summary because all 8 runs belong to the same sequence. Okay, let's say okay from here. All right, so what we need to wrap over here, this body over here is the first one I would like to have is something under sequences over here. And I want to have a sample summary that will give me a sense of which data I'm working with, right? Let's preview and see how. Okay, there you go. These are the 8 runs that I'm going to use for this calculation. So I know that my data got 8 runs. So that's really a lot easier for me to know what I'm working with, right? Then what you need to do is you go to table over here. Then you go to pick some compounds. Then you print something called compound results over, drag it over here. Okay, and in this table, you can right click and select properties. And because for this, we just need the concentration column. We don't need all of this, so I can go ahead and remove all of this: retention time, error count, height, RF. Okay, and then this is the amount column. Go to column properties, and you see that you have this a little quite long formula over here. You can remove them if you want to. Then you just simply put amount over here if you want to. Then say okay. Then the formula down here is compound amount. That's correct. Okay, you don't have to do anything right now, so it just look like this. I think I'm gonna add one more thing that I would like to have is I can add one more course. You go to sample over here, then you acquisition order number. So the idea is I want to sort my data like run 1, run 2, run 3, run 4, run 5, run 6, and run 8, something like that. So that will make my report a little bit nicer. So I'm going to add that one into this. Then I can drag this one, something like this. Give more space for it. Okay, something like this. Okay, then you go to sorting over here. Okay, and I say I'm going to sort down by the run 1, run 2, run 3, run 4, run 5. So instead of quick retention time, I will select sample and then acquisition order number out here. Then I'm going to go to ascending, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, right? So let's take a look at the report and see how. Okay, then you hit preview. Okay, so 8 runs. So there you go. So here is run number 1. You see, and I have this amount column over here. Then run number 2. And all of this over here. Then run number 3, 4, blah blah, something like that. And you see that you have quite a few compounds. I think I have more than 15 compounds over here. And if you have to do Excel over here, you have to enter all those numbers manually over here. And I think that will take you more or less like a couple of hours. And even human errors like typo or thing like that. So that's why the purpose of this video is to show you how to perform this calculation. You see, I didn't even have to key in anything, and this number just power up automatically for me, right? Okay, you go back to edit report templates. What you need to do right now is you want to add uh, you want to save this average and SD to perform the LOD as well, this column over here. So what I'm going to do is I will right click to on the table again, go to columns over here. I will select this amount column properties. Then you go to summary calculation over here. Then you can check the box for average. Then you check the box for standard deviation. And you want to add like a name, like this will be a variable that you want to use to perform some, yeah. So this standard deviation will be used for the LOD calculation, and average and these two will be using to calculate the ratio of it. So you can save this one, let's say call it AVE or whatever name you want. Okay. Standard deviation, I can put STD, something like this. You can put a longer name you want to. Okay. So once you put like you're happy with this, say okay, and you say okay over here. Okay. So there's nothing much happening right now. If you click the preview, we look more or less the same as the table just now, but you have at the end here two more rows, let's say average and standard deviation over here. But this average and standard deviation is all all eight runs and all compounds all together. So that's something that you don't like. You need to split to every single compound, right? You want to have the average and standard deviation of every single compound for 8 runs, right? So how do you do that? It's very simple. If you bring in a few. Let me minimize these two tables, right? You go to fields over here, then you can select any of these. It doesn't matter. Okay, just bring name. This one will be my LOD calculation. I want to have one more to perform the ratio, right? So I can put this one as I just right click on one of them. Go to project name over here, right click on it. And you get this. Go to label over here. You can put something like equal to code LOD of space, something like this, and compound name. So that will appear for me something like LOD of compound A, LOD of compound B, something like that. You can add something like this, equal to something like this, right? LOD of compound A, or you can put is or something like that. Right, something like this, up to you, right? Then in another value over here, because we know the formula we are using right here is a 3 times of the standard deviation. So delete the formula from here, go to variables from here, you have the standard deviation down here. So that will be 3 times the standard deviation. There you go. And then you can also format your value so that you have a couple of more decimal places so that you can compare easily. I can go 3. You can have more if you want to. Say okay. All right. So that's this one. And then the second one, I want to perform the ratio just like this one over here. So I can go to this again. A label is I can put this one is average over LOD, something like this. And under the value, I will put so average was saved under this variables from here. That was AVE, and then divide by 3. You can put like this 3 times standard deviation, which is LOD, right? There you go. So this is average divided by LOD over here, something like this. And over here, you can also format that you want to have maybe 1 decimal places, because your target is number 10, right? And then you can also put in the conditional formatting if you want to. Let's say you can put something like but before we do that, let's review the data a little bit before we look into that one. Okay, so in order for the software to perform the calculation for every single compound of 8 runs, what you need to do is you need to select all of this, including the table, the first field and the second field over here. Select all of them, right click on somewhere, right click on it. I don't know this software, sometimes it doesn't allow you to select and you right click on it. So you got to do a couple of times, right? So here you go. Yeah, then you group it. Okay. Then what you need to do is double click on like empty space somewhere within a group, something like this. Then you can select properties. Then under grouping around here, group repeat. What you need to do, you put in instead of none, you select something called compound name. So that way, the software will repeat this group by compound name, right? So compound name 1, compound name 2, 3, 4, 5, things like that. Okay, let's hit the preview button. Okay, and then what you see down here is very, very nice. This is the first compound, which is C1, and then you have sample acquisition order run 1 to run 8. You have the average value, you have the standard deviation value over here. Then you see the LOD of C1 is 2 point something, right? And then the average of this one is 12.4 times, So that's a little bit above 10 times, but against this is the LPG standard. I have no idea how to dilute this one lower to bring the concentration lower. So I have no choice. I need to accept this one. So that's why I said from beginning, this approach may not apply very well to your gas standard or your LPG standard, right? So it's best to use this approach for your normal auto injector injection or string injection. That would be a lot easier to dilute the sample. But for this, it's not, right? And so you see C2s right here. This is the second compound. Again, is that 8 runs. And you have the standard LOD over here. Then you have the ratio over here. This one much higher over here. Again, we have no choice. Okay. And then you have this. So you see the software will keep repeating that one based on every group that we have. So you see, with just a few clicks that we have done all this without any errors at all. So all this number we didn't key in manually. So there's no error, no typo over there compared to the Excel version, right? Then so that's basically the same over here. Then all compounds will be calculated, right? See, all the way down here. All compounds will be calculated very nicely. Okay, and what you need to do is you might not need to show this table. You can just right click on this table over here. Then you can go to advanced. Then you can just uncheck the visible box around here. Then that will be it will disappear. So what you will see is just something like this. LOD of C1 like this, then the average value, LOD C2 average value, something like this. And you could also add like conditional formatting for this value so that you know whether this one is well above 10 or not, right? So what you need to do is you go to, you right click on this field over here, go to properties, you can go to conditional formatting, then you can put in a formula here. So you can put if something like, so you need to compare, wait, let me cancel that one. So the value over here, the formula is like this. Okay, let me copy the formula so easier. There, this is average divided by 3 standard deviation, which is the LOD formula over here. Okay, so what I would do, I go to conditional formatting, go to function again. Well, if I would say if this number more than 10, then you would say okay, and otherwise it's not okay, something like this. And if it's okay, if this whole thing is okay, then the format will be, if it's okay, you want to have it okay, I want to have the green background, right? Because it's okay. Okay, let me copy the formula again. Otherwise it's okay, if it's not okay, something like this, then I want to go for red, right? Something like this. Okay, I say okay, something like this, and you preview your report again. There you go. Then something like this. Oh, I think I did it wrong. It's more than 10 should be red when the other way around. But I think you get the idea, right? So it's more than 10, it's with red, but I think just I did the other way around. But that's the idea, how you perform this calculation. I quickly tell you whether it's okay or not okay with this number. Okay, something like this. Okay, so once you're happy with the report templates, but let me quickly go into fix this one. It doesn't look very nice. Okay, so it's more than 10, it's green, so that's wrong. So if this is not okay, then we go for red. All right, and then no, I think let me go back here over here. So if it is less than or equal to 10, that will be okay. And if it's otherwise, it will not okay, right? So that will be like this. So it's more than 10, less than or equal to 10. Okay, that will be okay, or it's not okay, something like this. Okay, let's preview one more time. There you go. So all red, almost more than 10, there will be red color, like something like this. So once you're happy with that, you can save your template, and then you can put this, let's say, you can put LOD, no blank, something like this, whatever name you like. Okay, LOD no blank. Then you go back to data analysis. Now you can apply that template to your data file, so that basically every time if you want to perform this calculation again, you just need to go to the sequence over here, edit sequence parameters over here. Then you go to sequence output. Then you assign template just now. You hit this button, then you hit this intelligent reporting over here. Browse, look for the template just now that you saved. That was LOD no blank or something like that. There you go, LOD no blank. Bring it over here, say OK. Then down here you can select whatever you like to have. I don't want to do anything. I just need to preview my result at the end of the sequence. I just say OK. Then what you need to do is just save the sequence, then process your sequence, right? Then the software will go through every single data and print out the final summary report, like the one just now, with like LOD of then the ratio something like that, of every single compound, right? So every time you have a new set of data, just plug in the template, then hit the print button. That's it. That will be much faster than Excel. For Excel, you have a new set of data. You have to keep repeating the whole process of adding in those value concentration manually, one by one, like that. Okay, but for this software, it's not. Okay, so this is the report. So 8 runs out here. Then you have LD of C1, LD of C2, things like that. Okay, so that is the way how you perform a calculation using Openlab Chemstation theory reporting to very quickly calculate this kind of thing. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this video, and I believe this is the way that you perform calculation using Excel or quite, So I hope this will change your mind to use Openlab Chemstation intelligent reporting. Thanks to Agilent that they really developed this software very well. Okay, so that's all for this video. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any question or anything, let me know in the comment below. And do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.